Have you ever found yourself in a situation like this? You're in a tight spot, needing help right away, and just magically at that moment, someone shows up to assist you. Or perhaps your issue gets effortlessly resolved through some random coincidence at a crucial time. But when you look back, you realize that everything was done in an almost too seemingly perfect way. An American woman named Emmott Lisa once experienced such a situation. She went out and forgot to bring her keys. When she got home, she was locked out. Just as she was trying to figure out what to do, the postman arrived with an envelope. When she opened it, she found a key inside. It turned out that her brother, who had stayed at her place before, had taken a spare key but forgot to return it. So, after returning to Washington, he mailed the key back to her. The timing of the key's arrival was perfect, and Emmott Lisa's problem was solved right then and there. Here's another story. A woman named Madison Barbara once accidentally dropped her vintage bracelet down a bathroom drain. So, she went to a jewelry store to buy a new one. At just the right moment, a man walked into the store with a bracelet, looking to get it appraised. And the bracelet the man brought in was none other than Madison Barbara's. It turned out that the man was a janitor who had found the bracelet while cleaning out the drain. These two real-life stories seem almost too coincidental, as if they were set up on purpose. If we pay a little more attention or reflect on small events in our lives, we might find similar coincidences. History has even seen events that are so incredible that it makes you wonder if everything in the world is somehow scripted, as if it had been arranged long ago. Modern science has two main perspectives on the term coincidence. One is probability, and the other is meaningful synchronicity. So, what exactly does this mean? Can we use science to accurately explain coincidences? Today, let's dive into the concept of coincidences. Hi everyone, I'm Akashic Records. Let's travel back to June 4th, 1942, before dawn. The Japanese military was gearing up for action. 4 aircraft carriers, loaded with attack planes and powerful bombs, were set to strike Midway Island. Midway is a small coral atoll located at the northwest tip of the Hawaiian archipelago and was one of the most crucial naval bases for the United States. However, this Japanese attack on Midway wasn't their main objective. The real plan was to lure the snake out of its hole. The idea was that by attacking Midway, the American aircraft carriers would rush to defend the base. The top priority for the Japanese was to wipe out the American aircraft carriers' fleet. By doing this, Japan hoped to weaken the United States' position as a Pacific power and ultimately secure territory in East Asia and the southwestern Pacific Islands. So, after the Japanese launched their first wave of attack planes early in the morning, they quickly prepared their second wave equipped with torpedoes aimed specifically at American aircraft carriers. They also dispatched numerous reconnaissance planes to locate the US carriers. However, the Japanese reconnaissance planes faced engine problems and had to abort their mission, missing US Task Force 17 entirely. Meanwhile, 2 reconnaissance planes from the Japanese heavy cruiser experienced delays due to a malfunction in their catapults, causing them to take off half an hour late. As a result, nearly 3 hours into the Japanese operation, they still had not detected the American fleet. Therefore, at 7:15 a.m., the order was given to remove the torpedoes from the decks of the Akagi and Kaga aircraft carriers and replace them with powerful bombs for the attack on Midway. However, just as the reconnaissance planes, which had taken off half an hour late, completed their 500-kilometer search arc and were about to head back, they suddenly spotted the silhouette of an American aircraft carrier and quickly reported its presence. By then, it was already 8:20. Unfortunately, the first wave of Japanese attack planes had just returned to refuel and rearm, needing to switch from bombs to torpedoes. To save time, the Japanese even stacked the bombs they had just removed on the deck. The Japanese, initially aiming for a surprise attack, found themselves in disarray and missed their opportunity to strike. The deck of the Japanese aircraft carriers had turned into a chaotic mess. From 9:25 to 10 a.m., the 3 American carriers launched 41 torpedo bombers, which attacked the Japanese carriers with torpedoes. Despite their efforts, none of the torpedoes hit the Japanese ships. Whether due to American inexperience or the Japanese expertise, the American attack was ineffective, and the situation on the American side was also quite chaotic. By 10:24 a.m., 32 American dive bombers from the aircraft carrier Enterprise had arrived over the Japanese fleet. At this critical moment, the Japanese carriers were turning, giving the Americans the perfect opportunity. The Japanese fleet was unable to defend itself. Despite their lack of experience, the 32 American bombers managed to drop 4 bombs on the Japanese carrier Kaga. Meanwhile, the Akagi, unaware of the incoming American bombers, was hit by bombs. This led to a chain reaction of explosions, destroying aircraft and torpedoes on the Akagi's deck. Similarly, the Japanese carriers Hiryu and Soryu were also bombed by American planes, resulting in similar chain reactions due to the torpedoes and bombs piled on their decks. In this battle, all 4 aircraft carriers of the Japanese attack fleet were destroyed, while the US forces only lost 1 carrier. Despite the losses that morning, the Japanese were not ready to give up. They had several powerful battleships, and if the battle continued into the night, they would have the upper hand. The American side had no battleships, so a nighttime battle would be a sitting duck. Thus, the Japanese planned a sneak attack for that evening. Additionally, given the combat experience and fighting capabilities of the American forces at the time, many believed that the chances of defeating the Japanese in this campaign were extremely low. And even worse, in what seemed like an unfortunate coincidence, the highly experienced Admiral William Halsey, the top US Navy commander, had to be hospitalized due to a severe flare-up of dermatitis and couldn't lead the crucial Battle of Midway. Consequently, Admiral Raymond Spruance was appointed as the commander. However, due to Spruance's cautious nature, after the American victory that morning, he ordered the fleet to withdraw from the combat radius of the Japanese ships that night immediately. The Japanese, who had hoped to turn their defeat into a victory, saw their plans fail once again. After the Battle of Midway, Japan's morale was severely damaged. The reversal was significant when compared to the strength of the US Navy. Japan kept facing consecutive defeats in its battles with the US. If Admiral Halsey had commanded the battle, the outcome might have been very different. Yet due to such coincidences, the US, which was at a disadvantage, managed to secure a victory. As a result, Americans have always regarded the Battle of Midway as a miraculous event. Gordon Prange, a history professor at the University of Maryland who served in the US Navy during and after World War II for 9 years and was a military historian at the time, wrote a book titled Miracle at Midway. He believed that behind this victory there might have been a push from fate and supernatural forces. With these coincidences, it's truly difficult to explain how they occurred. That's why we often refer to them as the hand of fate. However, for many scientists, the term coincidence doesn't seem so miraculous. Moreover, it's not such a mysterious phenomenon after all. In 1989, American statisticians Percy Diaconis and Frederick Mostella proposed the law of truly large numbers to explain coincidences. According to their theory, given a sufficiently large number of independent samples, any seemingly improbable event is likely to occur. For example, if the probability of a rare event is 1 in 1 million, and we consider the Earth's population of about 7 billion people, that means there could be around 7,000 rare events occurring worldwide every day. The coincidences we experience are simply among those 7,000 rare events. In other words, in a massive group of people, extremely low probability events are bound to happen. David Hand, another statistician, goes even further by suggesting that coincidences are merely probabilistic events that occur randomly without any inherent meaning. Moreover, they happen all the time. In his viewpoint, coincidences are just a natural part of how things work. For instance, when sufficient people buy lottery tickets, eventually someone will win the jackpot. For the lucky winner, this might seem like an incredible coincidence. However, from a broader perspective, the fact that someone wins the jackpot isn't surprising at all. So mathematicians argue that our human definition of coincidence is too broad and vague. However, Bernard Beitman, a professor of psychiatry at the University of Virginia, disagrees with the idea that coincidences are merely about probability. Since 2006, Professor Beitman has been studying the nature of coincidences. After years of research, he believes that coincidences can't be fully explained by probability solely. We can only explain why coincidences occur, but not why a particular coincidence happens at a specific time or in a specific form rather than another. Interestingly, it's just like the story we mentioned at the beginning of the video, Emmott Lisa's house key arriving precisely when she needed it most sent through the mail. To achieve such a coincidence, explaining it with probability alone seems insufficient because many complex factors are involved. To better understand what a coincidence is, in 2011, Professor Beitman categorized coincidences. The first type is environmental coincidences. These are the simplest, easiest to understand, and most detectable coincidences. They involve a series of events in the real world that have a sequential relationship without any special subjective factor. In theory, anyone can verify them. For example, Violet Jessup, an Argentine sea stewardess, survived 3 shipwrecks over 6 years, including the Titanic disaster, or meeting a long-lost loved one abroad unexpectedly. If you're wondering why such strange coincidences happen, stay tuned for part 2 of this video, where we'll explore coincidences between consciousness and the environment through real historical events. For now, it's the end for this video. If you find it meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share it. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.